I think that Maarten has almost given the perfect introduction to what I'm going to tell you. So thank you very much, Maarten. I hope we can collaborate a lot in the future, because I think that there's a very good match. And yeah, what can someone do after such an outburst of energy that Maarten has given us? So maybe I should slow down a bit and also give you time to relax. I will indeed take you through our ideas on the Amsterdam Institute for Advanced Metropolitan Solution, and we call it AMS or AMS. That's its name at the moment. But first, yes, I'm an engineer. I'm an engineer. Are there more engineers in this room? Well, a few hands. Well, quite a few hands, actually. And then if we exclude the informatics engineers, so if we take the physical engineers, what hands do I see then? Well, my hope would be that if we have this conference in, let's say, 10 years, then there would be a lot of hands. And that would all then be engineers that are able to think interdisciplinary and to act interdisciplinary. That would then be engineers that that combine robust science and practical solutions. That would be engineers that move through the triple helix, so combining knowledge institutes, government and companies with ease. So, new engineers. I'm a civil engineer, by the way. That's one of the most traditional sorts of engineers that exist. But they do come in handy still now and then. We had enormous storms last week, and it then was the civil engineers' things that kept our feet dry. We closed the Delta works, and there we were safe behind our movable dikes. So I think that there's also something in traditional engineering that also our future cities still need. And I strongly believe in the combination of that all. And, well, I will show you that if I'm able to move through this. Yeah. So here you see a picture that also Maarten showed. It's a picture that's been made by Dirk Sijmons, who is professor at the Faculty of Architecture and the Built Environment. By the way, that's the faculty where I work, where I'm the dean of. And, well, I still have to get used to being introduced as an academic, since I've worked in the private sector for a longer period of my life than in academia. And I can tell you, well, I feel it's not that different, to be honest. So bridges are easy, I would say. And this is what the Institute, as we see it, is about. It's about city metabolism. And then it starts with the built city. It starts with the city as a built entity. The city, be it planned, be it grown organically sometimes, be it designed, but the city that's there, that we experience, that we can move through. So it starts with a built city. And then, of course, that city has been built by people. It's people that created it, it's people that use it. And that use means that there are city flows, and that flows we need to manage, but we also need to resolve them along the way. So once we do not only transport flows, so move waste out of the city, but be able to resolve waste along the way in the city, then we start to become efficient. And of course the same also goes for energy and the like. So there's the city and its city flows, and in fact the combination of traditional engineering and a few other disciplines that I will talk about shortly enable us to resolve that flows, and then we have to design that solutions back into the city tissue. Because then we start working about quality of life. because that's what it's all about. Yes, it's about people. It's about technology for people. It's about resolving the issues that we create by living in our cities and making our cities better and livable. So this is our basic, the previous slide showed our content, the way we approach it, and this is what we want to do. It's the center of our AMS Institute is research. The center is research, and the rest is connected to it. This is a pointer, yeah. So what you see here again the built city and its flows, and then you start sensing the flows. In order to understand the flows, we can use IT, information technology. We can use sensors in order to see how the flows go. And then once we know that, we can start to design solutions. And yes, first we have to define the questions before we start thinking about solutions. And then we start to integrate those solutions back into the built entity, and we start also using the sensors to direct flows, etc. So that's the basic idea. And yes, it is inherently multidisciplinary. So what the disciplines that you see here is, of course it's about design. We have to design solutions, so it's not only about design as in architecture, but also about designing solutions. It is about digital engineering, so it's about IT as well. It's about human sciences, social sciences, and it's also about traditional engineering. Because it's only in that combination that we can move forward, and it is difficult. It really is difficult, and we are already in building the institute, because that's what we are doing at the moment. We are building it up. We also already find out how difficult it is to really work interdisciplinary. So not only use it as a sort of a trendy word, but really practice it in practice. Because yes, there's this issue of language. We speak different languages. When I say architecture, it's perfectly clear for me what architecture is. But for an IT specialist, it's something completely different. And they also talk about architecture. So we need to develop language by which we really truly understand each other, and that's one of the things that we need to take care of. And then, yes, why is it so important? Well, for instance, that, and I also agree with what Maarten said before on technology tools, pleasure tools. Apps are often pleasure tools as well, but no app has ever purified water by itself. No app has ever purified water by itself. So yes, the apps are great, but how do we really link them to things that start to actually solve problems? And I will go into a few examples in a minute. Last thing that I would like to highlight at this slide is that the way we approach research is that research is at the core, but research always brings about what we call valorization, so creating products, using research to create actual products. Could be by having companies on board, and we have a number of companies on board that take benefit of the research that's done in the institute, but it can also be because there's PhDs working in the research and that they move on in a startup, so that they create their own products out of technology that has been developed in the research programs. And of course, there's also the role of education, because education can be a very good motor for research as well. We use in Delft, at my faculty also, we use a lot of master students' work in order to loosen up a sort of the paradigms that we sometimes have when we have been working on a subject for a longer period of time. And students have a sort of a freshness to break that. So integrating student work, so we will have our own new master on urban solutions, something like technology and design or whatever we still debating about the name it will have, in order to also be able to reinforce the research, and of course also that was part of the ambitions that the city of Amsterdam has with this institute, and that is to attract and retain talent to the city. And so this is what it is. Bless you. This is what it is. It's 3 interconnected parts. So it's research and valorization portfolio. Like I explained, for us that's 2 things that are strongly interconnected. It's something that we call a value platform, and it's education that's mostly expressed in a new MSc on metropolitan solutions, but of course the institute will also offer other forms of education like professional education. Well, let's start with the research and valorization portfolio. The idea is that that is a sort of an open platform. So, in fact, everyone can participate there. But there are a few restrictions. There are ground rules. And those ground rules are, first, the theme. So it needs to be about city metabolism. That's one. That's the ground rule. And who is going to decide whether it is or not? We will put in place a scientific committee, and that committee will decide whether it does or does not address that theme in the right way. Then, of course, projects need to be scientifically sound. That's evident. Then projects need to use a living lab. That means a spot somewhere in the city, or a spot, or they need to test what the research is about. They need to test that in the city. And by the way, we hear back from a lot of scientists within our university, and we have understood that that also is the case for Wageningen, for instance, that Amsterdam is a very good living lab spot, because it is a metropole, but it is a metropole on a limited size, which means that you can be very efficient in the living lab situation. So that's the third ground rule. There needs to be a living lab. And then the fourth ground rule is that the data that are gathered through that living lab and otherwise in the research are delivered to the value platform, so that the value platform can serve as an accumulation of data. I will go into that a bit deeper later on in my presentation. And then last ground rule is that basically the research already has to be funded for 80%. So that means that either through EU funding, or through companies, or through universities themselves, or whatever. So there needs to be already a large part of it that is funded. And the lacking 20% there, that's where the institute can step in. That's where the institute can help. And those of you who work in academia know that it's very often that last part that's very difficult. So we think that this is really a sort of a stimulation to get research going that otherwise might not start by itself. Value platform holds a few things. There is, of course, the physical spot of the institute. We are still in the process of deciding where it will be. And there are a lot of people following that. In the value platform, there's also a data platform. I will speak about that a bit later. There is the living lab facilities that are within it. There's a network facility, because, well, of course, we want to reach out to the city and beyond. And there's also an incubator facility in the value platform. And then there is the education, and I will tell you that it's not only the MSc, I already said it, but it's also the MSc is built up in a, we think, innovative way, and I will also explain that a bit later on. This is the partners that constitute the Institute so far. The initiative has been taken by 3 academic partners, being Delft, Wageningen, and MIT. And that in the ground for that actually lies in the way that we have defined the content of the Institute. So I mean the city metabolism. If you say that, then that makes it very, very clear and very logical that it's those 3 academic partners that work together. Since Wageningen, well, we all know Wageningen for its life sciences engineering. MIT is really very advanced in also traditional engineering, but also in IT. And we, as Delft, have a not too bad name in the world. On the one hand, traditional engineering as well, and on the other hand, also stuff like urbanism, because, well, we all know the Netherlands is quite well known in the world for that. And then, of course, we work together with companies, because we are an institute that is about applied technology. And for the applications, in order to streamline that in the right way, you need the private sector to step in. So you can see here on this slide a number of our partners are all very valued partners. There are quite some in the room already that I've seen that work together with us in building up this institute and taking also giving input in the research and participating in it. Here you see some examples of the applied technology that we're after. Well, let's look at a few. Let's, for instance, look at, I've pointed here then. Let's look at the Green Capital Initiative, which wins cellulose out of the sewer system to be able to use it again for the paper industry. Well, that's quite an engineering solution, but we also have society in times of crisis. That's more governance issue. Big data initiative. Well, we also work together with ESA. They're one of our partners, and they are experimenting with things that are used in space in order to be able to biologically clean water so that we don't have to transport it for long distances, etc. Few examples. Who of you know about Citizen? The Citizen project. Yeah, there are quite some people over there and also over there. Yeah. Well, actually, that's a project that really touches into the heart of what we are doing, because it combines physical technology. It's about Citizen is about zero. For those of you who don't know, about creating a zero energy city, and that's done on separate tracks. So not only a technology track, not only creating better isolated houses, for instance, what you see here, but also making the people that live in that houses aware through apps, through measuring, through sensing on what their energy consumption is. So how their behavior actually influences our environment. And then helping them with smart grid solutions to take in, but also deliver back energy that's partly generated on the houses, like on the roofs, and take in energy if they need any surplus that's generated somewhere else. So this is the energy side of it, and then there's also another side to it, and that's to use to bring biodegradable to biodegrading technologies very close to the household in order to once again limit the distance that we need to travel wastewater. And this is an MIT example. Here MIT has created, this is in fact a data example. This is data from taxis in Singapore. You might know MIT also has a lab in Singapore. And they have combined them with meteorological data because apparently in Singapore when it rains, there's the whole city is blocked, no taxi available. I see people nodding that know it from experience. Also, the person who has all the KLM houses probably also has that experience. Yeah. And by combining that data, the taxi drivers have a device that can predict what they should be doing when there's rain, so where they should be going when there's rain. So that helps the traffic flow in the city and also helps that citizens can then better find taxis at that moment. And well, we are more or less doing a same sort of test, a bit different, here in Amsterdam, so a sort of living lab. This is a living lab in practice called the Praktijkproef Amsterdam. Together with Rijkswaterstaat, and this is all about making sure that traffic keeps on flowing, so that you use traffic lights, etc., to talk with each other and then link back into apps, so that at home you can already see which route you should or shouldn't take. So it could be that my husband and I, who are both going the same direction, would both get a different route. We might not use it, but in order to have the traffic flowing through, keep the traffic flowing through the city. This is also another example. And if the technology works, then I'm getting a movie now. Is that it? Ooh! Shall I try again? Ah, just need to be patient. So this is about tracking trash. So what you can see here is how the trash moves. And some things really keep on moving. Eh? It's incredible what a distance. Well, there's a small one here still. So this is trash that was tagged with sensors in order to know where it's going. So this is the sort of things that that we're thinking of, and well, this of course has the side of the fun side, because it's funny to look at this, and then partly what it does is it makes people aware what happens with their trash. So it makes people aware that maybe they should be doing something else than throwing it away, or that they should throw it away in another way or whatever. So it's a sort self feedbacking loop. But it starts getting interested when also other sorts of technology and other knowledge come in order to really solve this problem, to be able to really do something about it. I had another movie, didn't I? Could I try? Yeah? Because with tagging, you can also have other things. There were 14 laptops sent around the world. Oh, there's no music under it. And actually it was not the video that I thought it would be. Because the video that I wanted to show, yeah, that's it, stolen. Yeah, so there was one stolen. And then the funny thing is that, of course, the laptop showed where it was going. So, and then it also started making pictures of the people that actually stole it. So MIT got their laptop back. So you can, and then the police took care of this. So you can see it also has some collateral influences. So let's say a few words about the value platform. I think that I've already explained this. So the value platform has a data platform. And that data platform will be really important because it's a big source. We all talk about big data nowadays. It's a big source for research and a big source for new ideas. And what you will see is that there will be, and there partly already are, a number of living labs in the city. And all those living labs produce data, as you can see on this picture. And then you can combine them with the open data the city and the city region already have, and the open data that's already available in the Netherlands. And then when you start integrating them and taking new slices, you can create new projects. You can combine things in a new way so that that will also generate new ideas for research and new solutions. Of course, starting with the question, what was the problem? This is one of those combinations. This combines, it's a science project called Amsterdam, warm Amsterdam, and it combines data on temperature, heat islands in the city. The darker the color, the warmer it is. And what's the problem? What's one of the problems about heat islands? It's that for older people it's difficult. So this map combines the age of people and the heat island risk, the actual spots in the city that you can analyze that are warmer. So here you in fact see a map of where you should do something, the dark, the reddish places, where you should do something in order to reduce that heat strength by, for instance, doing something about the landscaping, taking other measures in order to bring that down. So this is really material to work on a metropolitan solution. Education. I already told you that we will run a new Master of Science. And here you see that in a schedule, the way that that's built up. It's a 2 years master program with 1 year of interdisciplinary learning and 1 year that is that there's a graduation project that's done within companies or within the city of Amsterdam, but that's where students will be really working on real-life projects and improving them. So this is also where our partners have their role in education. And then the first year, that interdisciplinary first year, at this moment we are working out the curriculum. So, well, we still, and then of course you can imagine the tricky thing there is what do you put in and what do you leave out? And it's more difficult to decide what to leave out, to be honest. So we need to focus, because otherwise it will be either too superficial or too difficult for students to take. And then what we will do is we will also, because this is a learning year, by the way, which also will include what we call studio learning. So that's working in groups, in interdisciplinary groups, and solving projects in that groups. That's for us as an architecture school, that's a very common way of learning, but in other disciplines that's not that common. We will also offer this year as MOOCs, massive open online courses. That means that someone in Asia can just log in his computer and can then also follow that first year. And they will also get rates for their work. So the MOOCs include examination, and also the examination is then valued. So that means that someone who has completed all that MOOCs, who has done all that MOOCs, someone in Asia who has done all that MOOCs and has had good grades, might get an invitation to come to Amsterdam for a summer school. And then if he or she passes that summer school, might be able to flow into the second year. So this creates a sort of a separate route to becoming an engineer, because it will be an engineering degree, an engineer in metropolitan solutions. And well, of course, we have already started. Our faculty has already for some years had the idea of doing something linked to Amsterdam. We call that Studio Amsterdam. We've run a studio on Overhoeks. Actually, we're running it at the moment. It's about to be finished. Jacob van Rijs is, as a guest professor, heading that. And we will, next semester, run a studio called Amsterdam Solo, which is about concepts for people that live alone, housing concept for people that live alone, which is one of the issues if you talk about architecture and urbanism that the city deals with. And then especially, as you can see here, in existing buildings, so also transforming existing buildings, so not building it new, but doing it in a way that you can use vacant office buildings. And we will also organize a summer school with tracking devices to know, to have better insights in what the tourists in our city are doing. Well, then the organization of the institute, well, that's still on the drawing board, I would say. What you see here is a slide from our proposal, where symbolically we turned it around. So it starts with content. For us, it starts with content, and then here we have a board and a director, etc. So it's not traditional top-down, but we really want to have it bottom-up. So we want the scientists, the people that work in the institute, and the companies to be in charge of the institute, and not the director. And the director, in fact, of course, having a role and leading. And this is one of the things we also talked about this morning. Even on a scale of an institute, that's an issue. How do you combine the ideas of people working in an institute and directing it in the right way? One of the, I think, main questions in our society at this moment. And then we have a growth model, because, of course, it cannot be, you do not start an institute like this overnight. So we are building it up from the first students that are now working in Studio Amsterdam to starting the new master in 2015, And, well, incubator activities, MOOCs, living labs, extra partner cities. By the way, the city of Boston is already a partner city in the Institute. So this is our sort of roadmap. And yes, what we want to do is we want to connect, and we especially want to connect to talent and bring that into Amsterdam and retain it in Amsterdam. And we're ready to roll. And this is what it's about. Thank you.
Thank you, Karin. Thank you for this presentation. I think it clarifies quite good what your ambitions are and what you're going to do within the next, well, 30 years actually I saw on the slide there, so that's pretty ambitious. But maybe can I ask Maarten, is this addressing the issues you mentioned in your presentation, or do you miss things, or you lack of information? So please don't be shy, I would say, but I'm not afraid of you being shy.
I think it's a fantastically interesting initiative, timely. So the collaboration outside the university has to get out of its ivory tower, has to have text on how it is addressing 21st century problems, and use the learning environment with the cities and Waternet and search agencies and business. So I think it's a fantastic proposition. It's always surprising how you then have to make a jump to an MA program. I mean, it's a long shot, right? So you could also envisage this to be a research environment, but nevertheless, I can think it works. And the two things that I would raise is obviously how's the social science covered, and how do you deal with the risk that you make the existing system more efficient and forget to design the new system?
Agree?
Well, just coincidentally, Maarten and I had a conversation a few days ago.
You studied this already, so I thought it was a spontaneous.
Of course, there is a role for the social sciences, and it's very important. It's a very important role because it is about people. So it is about behavior, etc., etc. So yes, I think, well, in many of the research projects, there will be social scientists working, and social science will be involved there. That's difficult. I have to multitask also reading.
Yeah, there are tweets coming
wow.
in by the time. I will summarize.
That's a bit too much for me. At the same time, there's also you can't do everything, and your ambition should not be to cover everything, because if you do that, you create what I like to say in Dutch, thin soup, and we all know that thin soup is not very tasty. So you also there's a force in limiting yourself. So this institute is basically about applied technology, and of course that also means that it reaches out to people. So that also means that we will be working a lot with social scientists. But well, it's that way we see it.
It's from A to B, but you include
exactly.
B as well, basically.
Yeah.
Tracy, so you were.
Yes, good morning. Tracy Metz, journalist and the director of the John Adams Institute. I wanted to add something to that wonderful example that Karin gave of the trash tracking. I heard Carlo Ratti of the Sensible Lab give a talk on this last year. I think it was at Picnic. And he added something that I thought was really worthwhile for us to know here, too. Of course, the tracks that he has tracked now with the trash are also a portrait of economic value. And so we can really do something with where the trash, not only the trash itself, but actually where it's recycled, what that means to the local economy. And one of the most interesting things he mentioned was that they discovered that mobile phones that have been thrown away all seem to get recycled in Baja California. And that is very interesting, not just because of the economic side of that, but because the mafia is very involved in trash disposal. And they have discovered that these maps might also be of great interest to the Ministry of Justice in tracking mafia activities. So this is one completely unexpected spin-off of...
There is hope for Italy, Nicola.
But I think that this is a very good example of how once you have data and you start to look at it at different ways, that really new things come up and that you can really build on that. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Great addition, I would say. Any questions? Willem.
Just an annoying question. What about the arts? I mean, your last slide was the image in your last slide was from Mediamatic. No credit, but I made it and I was in it with my team. So apparently you look at the arts, but you didn't really mention the discipline in your talk. So I'm curious what your plans are.
Yeah, well, maybe I didn't mention it because for me it's such a, how can I say, a logical part of life. In my faculty, arts.
Keep mentioning it.
Yeah, but it's true. Architecture is about technology, but it's also about arts. So arts is there, and I do not know which slide you exactly refer to, but we did integrate. Of course, we worked with a graphic designer for our proposal as well, because it's the way that you present things, the way that you present things in infographics, can be so much stronger than only by using text and language. So, hooray for the arts, I would say.
It's a hooray for the arts. Any other? Yeah. Ralph.
Good afternoon, my name is Ralph Mamadeus. I'm CEO of Changes. Changes is a company that is building 10,000 apartments for youngsters in the age of 18 and 30. But I'd like to address a question in general to all the speakers. I was pretty much inspired by them, especially by Martin. But still, I cannot help to notice that, in my opinion, the bottleneck is not knowledge at this moment, especially not technology knowledge, but how can we make the leap from thinking and willing to doing? Because, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Where are the people that will be able to write and create positive business cases? Because without a positive business case, things will not fly. And that's what I'm missing in all the issues that are discussed now. So maybe in general, where are those people? And how will we support them?
I can start to answer for our institute, but then the others have to pick it up for their part. I really think that the basis of that is in the triple helix. So it's in the combination, in the collaboration with companies. And that it is not easy because sometimes science seems to live on a different planet than people in practice do. And you're absolutely right that it's the business case where it comes together. Because in the end of the day, for a company, something is only attractive if one way or another, there at the end of at the bottom line, there's a profit. But having said that, I think, and I really think that one of our aims is by collaborating with a number, and you've seen them, a number of companies, we really do integrate that already in our system. So it's in collaboration, and while Sennett was quoted earlier today, his last book is called Together, and it is all about collaboration. And in that collaboration, so less competition and more collaboration, there I think is a very essential beginning of the answer to what you're raising.
It's a first. I will add a few things to it, but in the back of the room, Chris, I think.
Well, just to thank you for your explanation, for the debate a little bit. But if you say that it's actually about collaboration, and if the things that and also listening to Martin Hayer's very interesting speech, that it's also about changing the defaults, isn't it then not that we're too simply, again, thinking about changing, a technical infrastructure or coming up with new technologies? And shouldn't we really look about how we actually change the social infrastructure and how we are changing with each other, how we collaborate and how we view the city and the world we want to live in? And I must say I'm confused because from your presentation about AMS, I see so little about how we're actually going to change the values and think about values. And then I think it's not engineers we only need, but don't we need philosophers, anthropologists? Where are they in your story?
Yeah, part of the point you're raising is in what I said about our self-chosen limitations.
But we can only do it once, we said. We
yeah,
can only do it right once.
Yeah, but we can also create other institutes and then collaborate, of course. But we don't have to do it all at once, because if we do so, it might also become so complex that we cannot solve it anymore. So this is not trying to find an easy way out. I think that technology will be an important part of our society. It already is. It already has been for a very long time. But the sort of technology shifts. And of course, there's also a number of issues around the use of technology that touch on social sciences, that touch on philosophy, on art, on whatever. And that they're all important, and they all will also will from those domains be people also working in the institute. But at one point in time, it also is a force to say, this is what we are about, and we will build it from there. And well, then of course there's also other knowledge institutes that are about other things.
I would just as Ashby's law was, if the complexity is big on the outside, ensure that the complexity is big on the inside, because it's the only way to deal with complexity.
That's a great addition, I would say. Yeah. One more question. Actually, the same law you wanted to quote.
Well, no, it's it's about if you do research and it's based on certain values about how you see mankind, or what is your idea about. You mentioned it here. The quality of life. What is quality of life? That is for me difficult, because I'm a philosopher and also the grandchild of a man who was a civil engineer in Rotterdam. I don't understand the word quality of life, because quality of life has to do with the value, and my quality of life might be very different than yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, it's very hard to understand to have a value platform without discussing real values. Because the real values is where you start your research project, to be honest. I don't want to be rude. I think you're right. We have to look for practical solutions, but it's exactly what she said.
This is so funny, because this illustrates how important language is. Because for me, quality of life is linked to, well, let's say, an aspect, let me be prudent, an aspect of quality of life is linked to, well, let's say, the way our public space is shaped and functions, etc., and the way we offer that to our citizens. And of course, quality of life can be much broader and mean other things, like value. For us, the value platform is the value of the data we integrate in the platform, for instance. And for you, you're talking about general values. So it once more illustrates the importance of trying to get on the same page. And I think it also illustrates that it's a complex matter.
Well, yeah, and in addition to that, I mean, this is also exactly the reason why we shaped and invited all of you, basically, because I think, except for age, actually, when you look at the audience, we have a pretty good mix of the city, basically. Well, maybe if you're... Well, I think we have people working on the city, at least, and in the room over here, it's a great mix, and we designed this program in this way, also answering to your question, Rolf, that this afternoon program is really meant to interact with each other, not with 200 people in a room, because that's, well, it's a bit of interaction, but it's not really interaction. But in the afternoon program, we have a program, we really start to interact with each other, and it's about doing things, and what are the things we can start to do, especially by mixing all the ideas, philosophers with engineers, entrepreneurs together with corporates, government people, well, with everybody basically. Scientists who pave the roads, but someone needs to walk over the same road, so we need to align them as well. So you're absolutely right, and hopefully we can make a big step this afternoon in making it more tangible and getting arts together with engineers, getting government policymakers together with scientists or urban planners, So hopefully we managed to do this afternoon. So for now, I would like to give a big hand to Karin for giving the presentation. And especially for leading this, I would say, bold initiative, which hopefully brings the city a bit further.